For as long as I can remember, I have been training. Yes, long and hard, for a reason that I have long forgotten. Through rigorous training I suffered. It was a long and challenging road. But now that this long journey has come to an end, it's time for the final test I have been training for all this time that I just now remembered. Just sit here on my ass and play this game. He's the spud that you need. He's spreading his seed. Don't take no crap. Did you know I could rap? Cause I didn't know either. Brotato is a game where you play as a potato who's a bro. I don't know if he's a real bro though. He don't look like my bro. Holy shit, he's infiltrated our world. And he's murdering me. Now that I'm dead, it seems he's made his way back into the game. So let's talk about exactly what's happening here. Because, as you might have forgotten even though it was only 5 seconds ago, I am dead. It was developed by a one-man team out of France. Blobfish are known by his real name, Thomas Grevard. Let's be real though, you can't beat the name Blobfish. Now, I don't want to get into a political analysis of the relationship between a potato and whatever the fuck these things are, but if we have to discuss the story, then screw it. Ahem. There is no story, and that's just how the potato rolls. Although the more I look at the main guy, the more he looks like an egg. One egg in particular. I guess I'll just need to make up a story then. One day a band of potatoes were invaded by a colony of aliens that looked like every popular animation on the website of Newgrounds combined, and were forced to defend themselves by fighting through 20 waves and defeating the boss and becoming an item of pure worship. All hail the potato. Or more likely dying well before that, because this game can be difficult depending on your luck. Maybe that wasn't a bad idea. That was just my headcanon, of course. There could be a deep, fantastical tale about doming here, but I got stuck on the part where a potato with guns that looks like an egg kills a shit ton of monsters. So how about we just move on, y'all? Brotato is a roguelike, like Hades or Vampire Survivors, where you do the rogues and the likes. Now, I'm not really a roguelike enjoyer myself. I've heard of the big names like the 2 games I've mentioned before, as well as The Binding of Isaac, which is closer to Brotato than Hades, so I guess I should have put that game instead of Hades just a second ago, but I digress. And now that I've experienced Brotato, I've been put into roguelike jail, where I've been sentenced to play more Brotato. Psst, I'm currently playing Brotato right now, as I record this to speed up my jail time. Don't tell anyone or I might get beat. What are you doing in there? Ah! You pick your starting potato that has buffs and debuffs and stats that tailor them to particular play styles. All you have to do in terms of controls is move around and pick what items and weapons you take in between waves. All items and weapons cost money, unless you pick up crates that fall sometimes. But how do you get the money to help fund this? You get it from killing enemies and collecting the spoils. And you get experience as well, as you kill enemies, which in turn lets you level up, and you get to choose one of 4 stat increases for free. The actual gameplay requires you to dodge attacks, while the game handles aiming for you. Although there is a manual aiming option if you want to say fuck you to one enemy in particular. If you're familiar with other roguelikes, then you might have noticed that this sounds exactly like the game I just mentioned before. Not the Red God one, but the one made by the Italian. Brotato and Vampire Survivors are definitely cut from the same cloth, but Brotato has ways to stand out from its contemporaries, particularly with how exact you can get with your builds. Look at all those numbers. This screen will either give you a massive, throbbing heart, or it might just make you shrivel up into a little ball and cry. Personally, it gives me college algebra flashbacks with numbers and equations and variables. God, the variable. I'm just kidding. I actually love math, and it was my favorite subject in school. So now you know that I'm definitely pitching a tent right now. All these stats can potentially be important depending on your decisions with which items and weapons you choose. You got max HP, HP regen, lifesteal, overall damage, melee, range, elemental damage, attack speed, crit chance, engineering. That's right, you can get your PhD in medical shit here. Range, armor, dodge, movement speed, luck, and harvesting. You can also get your associates in being down on the farm. So yeah, there's a lot of stats to keep track of. Good thing there isn't a whole other list of stats that are also important. No, wait, don't move that mouse in that direction. Oh, yeah, there's even more. As you can guess with all these stats, there are exactly, let me count, 3, 10, 18, probably should have done this before recording this part, 36 total variables that can be affected. Of course, a lot of these don't matter depending on what you decide to do for a specific run. You mostly don't want to be a jack of all trades in this game. If you want actual advice, then focus on 2 or 3 stats and boost them up as much as possible. Each item comes with positives and negatives. Very rarely are you able to get an item that doesn't come with some stat decrease, so it forces you to make tough decisions on what stats you want to sacrifice in order to become the best at others. Do you want to have a high dodge rate, which gives you a chance to totally negate an attack? Then you're most likely going to have a negative in armor, which means you'll be taking more damage when you do get hit. Maybe you focus on melee attacks. Then most likely your range damage is going to suffer. You want high attack speed? Well, most likely your movement speed will be punished. There are many other ways that these stats are affected by one another, but these are just the basics. There are many different types of weapons as well, with melee, range, and elemental. Then there's subclasses within these weapons like precise, blunt, tool, ethereal, and so on. Each subclass comes with its own benefits, and you can guess it, setbacks, depending on which subclass you're talking about. If you're a Tater player, let me know what your favorite builds are in the comments below. You do all this in the pursuit of the pure nirvana known as watching the game instead of playing it, although they are smart about not encouraging this type of play through the different enemies or the way that there's a chance to get double experience by picking it up off the ground manually, instead of just standing around and having it all come to you at the end of the wave. Sadly, I wasn't able to reach that ecstasy, but I found some pretty good loadouts in my hours of playing this game. Like my first winning run being with the pacifist potato, which I was not expecting to happen, especially at the start. If you roll around in the dirt, then you know what a pacifist does, so it was an interesting way to play the game. Sadly, I don't have footage of it because I was playing just for fun. Maybe I suck at this game. That leads to why Brotato is so endlessly replayable. And if you're a fan of this genre, I think it's obvious what I'm going to say. Replayability. There are so many items, weapons, potatoes, and I didn't even tell you about the levels of danger that you unlock as you complete runs, which introduce new enemies. I've only scratched the surface on how deep this potato plant goes depending on the Steam reviews. And also look how many progress achievements there are. They cover the basics like the amount of enemies killed, or winning a run, or reaching level 20. Most of these are finish a run with X starting potato, so I'm not all that interested in getting all these if I'm being honest. Or am I? Yeah, I'm being honest. That doesn't mean that I plan on stopping anytime soon, however. Not to mention all the mods that have been made for it, as well as the DLC that will be released sometime soon, that I probably won't buy because I only have so much time on this mortal plane. But hey, I'm in jail after all, so I don't exactly have much else to do. It's a good thing that the courts let me keep my PC. I don't really get it either. Alright, what's left to talk about? There's a ton of accessibility options for the disabled gamers out there. Everybody can come in contact with the tuber. Its graphics are very simple, so its specs are on the low end, so once again anybody, no matter the computer, can have an interaction with a spud. $5 on Steam. So yeah, again, anybody can have a passionate time with the, let me see here. The Earth Apple. What the fuck? Needless to say, if you're a fan of roguelikes, then play this game. Even though you probably already have. I'm out of prison and back to life. It's almost like it took one generic clock swipe transition. But anyways, in light of my exoneration, this video can finally end. Can I just say, I'm sick of potatoes now. In the time I've been in the slammer, the boom these things have made, Ireland's now a world superpower.
Meanwhile.
Huh? I just can't stand it. Get out of my life, Spud. Maybe I should have done that.